What's going on, everybody? It is your boy Zamboni. I am a musician and astrologer, and it is time to talk about the astrology of the week ahead. As always, I thank you so very much for being here. Thank you for rocking with me day after day, week after week. If you like what I'm doing here, you can go to zambonifunk.com where you can get an astrology reading. You can get a Zoom reading for an hour where we'll talk it out. You can get a 10-minute reading, which is the same format as this weekly. So I'll just sit here and look at your chart and go through whatever your question is. There at zambonifunk.com, you can find music. There is a podcast. This week we've got a new podcast coming out with DB and Natalia. So that's going to be super fun. We had a great time talking. Thank you so much for being here with me. Oh, if you don't know, you should probably check out my Instagram stories also. That's where the memes are. Just throw that out there. I don't get paid for that. No one gets paid on memes really, but it's hilarious and my meme game is strong. So maybe you should check that out. Thank you so much for being with me. Let's talk about the astrology of the week ahead. So this week we have, the main thing that we've got going on this week is Mars and Venus are changing signs. So Mars has been in Pisces for the longest, hanging out with Saturn and Neptune, and that has been really tough on the Mars things. Mars typically wants to go and get things started and move and push on things, and then to be there with Saturn. Saturn's job is to stop things from happening or to negate, to drop boundaries or this kind of thing. So I've been talking about like gear grinding and frustration and that sort of thing. Then Mars moved in to a conjunction with Neptune, and so then it was more of this sort of like, I don't really know what to do with myself, and like I don't know how to live. I honestly thought that would be pretty nice because it would be cool. It would be like cooling out a little bit, and so there has been a little bit of that. But now we are seeing Mars move into Aries. This is a home placement for Mars. So this is going to happen this week. Mars is going to move into domicile, where Mars is very good at doing the Mars things. So all of that. So whenever I think about Aries, I think about the match flame, right? So you like strike the match and it burns super brightly for a moment, and that is enough to catch a fire. So that is the kind of thing that we're going to be seeing here with Mars moving into Aries. Mars is going to be in this place for about 6 weeks, doing regular Mars stuff, but looking very extra powerful doing Mars things here. So, we might expect to see some kind of like warring escalation going on during this time, especially since this is going to be putting Mars into the same place as the North Node. And so we're going to see Mars activating those eclipse placements, and throughout the whole eclipse situation, we definitely saw warring escalations moving up in the sort of geopolitical field. If you have some kind of like ongoing conflict with a friend or a partner or a coworker or something like this, this might be a moment where things kind of get out into the open. Actually, that's one of the nice things about Aries, is that conflict comes out into the open. It's unlike Scorpio, Mars's other sign, in that Scorpio tends to prefer secrecy, and Scorpio will be quiet about things and wait for the opportune moment and strike in the nighttime in darkness. This is how Scorpio tends to operate. It's very penetrating, but prefers not to cause a lot of damage outside of that very precise place. Aries, on the other hand, is very much like slashing. It's sort of out in the open. It's like in the Western movie, a duel, right? Like this, like I'm gonna challenge you, and we're gonna go out into the street, and somebody's gonna count us off, and everybody's gonna watch us try to shoot each other, right? Like this is the situation that we typically see with Aries. And so if there has been something that has been sort of ongoing for you, or maybe in your state or something like this, then we are likely to see whatever conflicts are going on, those can come out into the open, and we can actually do some slashing. This is sometimes problematic because it means that people, especially people who are like averse to conflict, tend to sort of struggle with that. But if you're ready to do the thing and just like get some shit moving and get stuff out of the way, then this can be really good for that. So this is, as Mars moves into Aries, coming back to that match flame analogy, right? The idea here is that there's enough juice here to start a fire. If you can't, often with Aries, there's a strong initiation point, but it can be difficult to follow through on that. And so when we're thinking with that, Often when I see people with strong Aries placements, I recommend a nap all the time. So like go hard at the very beginning and then rest, because you're likely to burn out, right? Like thinking with that match, it's like, and then stops for a minute, right? So like, a lot of times Aries will have trouble on the follow through. So when you get to that point where you're flagging, then just rest for a little bit, come back to it, do another. The nice thing about taking a nap in the middle of the day is that you get 2 mornings that way. So like you wake up and then you get all of your same morning stuff and you do the morning situation another time. And so Mars in Aries is going to be really good for that. So that we can expect the Mars situation, and Mercury is still there in Aries, right? And so we might expect some fighting words to go down. We might expect Mercury to get a little more aggressive still than Mercury has been. Mercury is now moving forward. Mercury has stationed direct. And so we're looking at less miscommunication and that sort of wildness. But instead of that, it's like, okay, we really got to get to it. And so if that means that I need to cut somebody off or like get somebody out the way or tell somebody no, just so that I can get something happening, then that sort of thing is likely to go down here as well. And so we might see verbal conflicts as well as physical confrontations and this kind of thing. Now, the other piece about what's going on here this week is that Venus is moving out of Aries and into Taurus. The same way is Venus moving into domicile, the same way that Mars is moving into domicile in Aries. Venus is moving out of Aries, where Venus is pretty uncomfortable. Venus doesn't really know how to do the Venus things very well in Aries. Once you move into Taurus, then this is Venus in Venus's own home situation. This is Venus not only at home and able to do the Venus things, which include cooperation and togetherness and cohesion and creativity and arts and beautiful things generally, and especially in Taurus, things that taste good and that feel good on your skin or in your body in some kind of way. Venus includes those things, but then also Venus here in Taurus is along with the Sun and is along with Jupiter. So this looks like a very benefic kind of situation, something that we haven't really seen too much of. Now, the Sun is here, and so the Sun is going to outshine both of these benefics. Fortunately, Venus is at home in Taurus, and so isn't going to suffer too much from that. But Jupiter is getting pretty close, or the Sun's getting pretty close to Jupiter at this point, and so we can't see Jupiter in the sky very well, and so Jupiter is not in position to really do a lot of Jupiterian things except in service of the Sun. That's part of the reason why I like the Sun in Taurus, is because especially if you've got a Leo rising election and you can find a whole list of elections and good times to begin your projects and this sort of thing at my Patreon, so patreon.com/ZamboniFunk, then there's a list there of times that you can use to launch your product or your business or whatever it is, right? So if you've got a Leo rising election, that's going to be ruled by the Sun, and that'll have the Sun on the midheaven with just sort of scooping up energy from both benefics. So there's a lot of prime opportunity to get things moving, especially in a Sun kind of way, especially in a Taurus kind of way. So when we're thinking Sun, Taurus things, then we're thinking about like shining brightly, and especially in some kind of way that generates stability, constancy, and things that you tend to like, that sort of like feel, you know, like humans, and I think life in general tends to prefer homeostasis, right? And so Taurus, the Sun in Taurus, the Sun's job is to be very consistent and constant in the way that it operates. And so there's a certain kind of like sameness about that works really well with Taurus. Now, of course, we've got Uranus here as well. So, and that Uranus-Jupiter conjunction is still going on. So we're still going to be looking at innovations or experiments or things, you know, trying things from a new angle, thinking outside the box or something like this, you know, and so that may be a little bit different than homeostasis exactly, but there can be some really good ideas and really good ideas for ways to generate the kind of environment that could be comfortable or stable or delicious or any of those Taurus kinds of things. To see both of those benefics here for a little while does look like a moment where, you know, the lunations are going to start to be more fun. We're going to start to see much more possibility and opportunity. And so there's on the one hand, we've got like stronger warring aspects going on this week, but then we've also got something that can be potentially delicious. And so, as always, it is duality all the time. Thank you so much for being here. Don't forget to check out ZamboyFunk.com.